There's
We're
no.
live. Hey, we're live.
That's all that matters. That's all that matters.
Live on YouTube.
First time live on YouTube. We're gonna see how this goes.
Yep.
How's the weather down there in Houston, Texas today?
It is wet. It's gross. So it's been gross all week, and so it's been maintenance week.
What is maintenance? What does maintenance mean?
So everything gets pressure washed, right? Everything gets new oil filter, new oil. Everything gets checked. So you can see she looks brand new. So yeah, we had like all 9 tractors out. All of them.
Very nice. So if somebody was to ask you right now, what's the most important thing they should be working on to be successful this spring and this summer? What would be the one piece of advice you'd give them?
Ooh, that's a really good question. And just like with anything, there's so many variables. But if I just had to pick one, just pick one right off the bat, because it's one of the one things that you could probably do even if you can't be growing right now. It would be getting as much organic matter into your soil.
Okay, so that's wood chips and growing cover crops.
Whatever you can do.
What do you guys do for that?
Well, so of course this is larger fields, so cover cropping is like the main technique. Definitely the main technique.
All right. What's while we wait for people, what's probably the most common question you receive on your farm right now? How to ship pecan pies to their doorstep?
No. When will strawberry picking be open? And I have the man with the answer right here. He asked, "What's the number one question we get right now?" And it's, "When will strawberry picking be open?"
Won't be open this week.
Won't be open this week.
Whenever it stops raining, right?
Approximately 21 days, right? Maybe 21 days out.
February 10th, probably.
February 10th. Don't hold us to that.
I'm excited.
What about y'all?
I got my picture ready to go, so that whenever you guys are good, I'm going to post it.
Yes. We have a whole nother strawberry video, right?
Do we? I think we posted them all.
No, I think we only posted...
You might be right.
I think you still have the strawberry fact video.
You might be right. I need to go back and look. Maybe we did decide we were going to wait. Are you in the greenhouse right now?
Yes.
Okay, let me see. Let me see what you guys got going on in there. What's growing on?
What's growing on? So most of these in here are for resale. So that's what most of these. So like 3/4 of these peppers will be planted, 1/4 of them will be sold. Almost all of the herbs will be sold. And then so let me start over. So from here to here is week 1, right? That's everything that was seeded with week 1. Like you can see the dill here, right?
Yep.
So then we start over week 2. Cilantro, dill, just like up there. This starts week 2.
Actually, you know what we should do, Tyler?
What's that?
Why don't we just make this a greenhouse garden video? And I'll just edit this first 4 minutes out, and we can just start from like, hey, I'm here with Tyler. We're gonna go through what they got going on in the greenhouse. You want to do that?
Whatever you want, buddy.
Let's do that because I got a bunch of questions, and so I feel like this would be a great way to. Okay, so are you ready? Are you ready? We're gonna start it from right here. Hey everyone, welcome to the Shiloh Farm, Farmer Froberg's live Q&A. We're gonna do a walk through the greenhouse. We're gonna see what Tyler's got going on. I'm gonna ask him a bunch of questions about how they grow, when to up pot, what different plants you need to be planting this time of year, and answer all your guys' questions. So, Mr. Farmer Froberg, why don't you take it away? Introduce yourself. and then tell us a little bit about what you guys got growing on.
Well, first off, howdy everybody. Thanks for tuning in. This is our first YouTube live ever.
It is our
That
first YouTube live.
turned into a video. Um,
We're figuring it out as we go, you know.
my name is Tyler Froberg, also known as Farmer Froberg on the World Wide Web. I'm a fourth generation diversified fruit and vegetable farmer in the Gulf Coast of Texas.
Love it.
So, the ground that I'm standing on right now was bought by my great grandfather in 1936. Now, fun fact: the physical square foot ground that I'm standing on was in 19 probably somewhere between 1936 and the 50s. He raised Duroc pigs on. So he had strawberries in the field. He raised strawberries for nursery plants and sold them to the other strawberry farmers around. My great grandfather went to vet school. And so he really liked the critters and he raised Duroc pigs. And fun fact, he free ranged them. He let them out every morning and they would travel around the farm and then they would come back in the evening.
And he wasn't worried about anybody taking his pigs, or they just.
Nope. They got conditioned to it.
Wow. And so you guys are a fourth generation strawberry farm too. I didn't realize that he was the one that started the strawberries.
Yep. So our area, specifically within like 10 miles, because we have sandy loam soil, has always been high in strawberry production.
Were the strawberries like native to that area then?
No, gosh, no. But it was a perfect storm, right? So in the late 1800s, when Alvin, the town, was founded, they built the railroad to Galveston. And so you had, approximately 10 or more square miles of sandy loam soil. You had people already growing figs and pears. You had strawberries. And you had one of the largest fig processing facilities right by where they put the train depot at. And so it's a perfect storm to become a hub for not just processed figs, pears, and strawberries, but fresh fruit. To get on the train, they pack it full of ice, the train, and send it down here. These guys would fill it full of berries and send it back up north.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Some years. Well, no, I guess not quite 100 years, but
Well,
just about.
not 100 years here, but the Frobergs came over in 1890s and started farming. So actually, I'm technically fifth generation, just
Okay.
fourth generation on this ground. So in the 1890s, my great great grandfather farmed 15 acres of strawberries on the other side of Alvin.
Man.
Yeah.
Well, I could talk to you about strawberries probably all day. But I know that you are short on time, so I want to see what you've got going on behind you in your greenhouse, because as you can see in mine, I've got a much smaller version of what you're doing, and I have a lot of questions about how to grow properly. So why don't you walk us through, I guess, start to finish, the process of growing in your guys' greenhouse?
So what I like to do first is talk about like our scheduling and how we time everything, and then I can go through a demo of how I physically seed.
That'd be perfect. Let's see it.
Flip this camera around. So each one of these sections is a week by week. Now, most of the plants that you see in here are going to be sold in our store. And then a lot of the peppers and tomatoes will be planted in the field, but any of the herbs you see here will be sold in the store. So here you have week one. And
that was all in 1 week, or you're just saying this is the start of week one?
Yes. So from here to where the plants get a little bit smaller, right there is all of this was seeded week one. So not January 1st, but the first week that we started seeding.
And so how old are those plants right there?
So these plants are about 3 weeks old.
Okay. So you started 3 weeks ago. This was week one.
Started 3 weeks ago. This was week one. Go on. Now, people hear, when they see my videos, they hear 1 seed per hole, 1 seed per hole, 1 seed per hole. I always put the clarification that there are, of course, exceptions. Some of these exceptions include herbs, especially herbs for resale. And so, like, as an example, people will buy this at our store, but they won't plant it. They'll just wait till this cilantro gets a little bit bigger and they'll harvest it out of here.
Yeah.
And so, I always put the disclaimer in there when I say 1 seed per hole. I'm talking about the crops that you're going to be transplanting into the field, one by one.
Okay.
right? Seed, you shouldn't be wasting money buying double or triple the amount of seed. But we'll get into that. We'll get into that. But
Okay.
so here is week 1, and I apologize for the noise. We'll walk over to the chicken brooder a little bit later. But we're converting our other greenhouse right beside here into a chicken brooder. So peppers, tomatoes, all looking really good. These are all about 3 weeks old.
Okay.
Now I see cilantro here. We started at cilantro up there, so this starts week 2.
Okay.
And so all of these got seeded 2 weeks ago. And of course, we see quicker germination in the herbs. And we see little tiny baby pepper plants just starting to come up here.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. So those are 2 week old peppers. Of course, tomatoes germinate just a little bit faster, right? We see all of our little tomatoes. Careful on the 1 seed per hole here. We see that. We're not going to waste a bunch of time thinning here.
Sure. Yep.
And so then we start with week 3 over here. Now with week 3, we're actually going to see more trays than we did week 1 and 2. Now that's because
That's
we're
a
going to,
lot more there. Are these the ones you guys are planting for yourself, or are these also
so
for?
this will include more that we're going to be planting for ourselves, but by the time these are ready, we're going to be well into March, which would be prime plant selling time.
Sure. So you're scheduling them based on when it's going to be the most effective time to
Exactly.
sell them. Yeah.
Exactly. And so we'll go through
My
here now.
OCD is killing me. How come that one tray isn't right there where it needs to be?
Oh, I know, right? It should be.
It needs to go right there.
This is, it should be because of the variety, right?
Oh
All of
yeah.
those are the same variety. Those are the same variety. So
Somebody messed up though. Somebody messed up. That needs
yeah,
to.
somebody messed up.
I'm blaming you, Tyler.
Uh, yeah, it's, everything's my fault.
Yeah.
But so again, you see just a lot more because we're going to be in prime, and a lot of these are for us too. And so we know if we're going to be transplanting in the field March 7th, right, March 15th, these will be perfectly ready for that. And
Yeah.
so we do the same rotation week by week for in-store sales and then increase them based on demand and what we'll be using in the field. And then these are flowers. These will actually, we'll pot these up into 4-inch pots, and these will sit in the 4-inch pots a little bit longer than some of your vegetables will.
So I have a question,
But yeah,
and you maybe get to that in a little bit, but I do have a question on when you know it's the right time to up pot, because especially some of those things you were working on, the dill that was 3 weeks old, obviously maybe not ready to up pot yet, but when do you decide that's the right time? And are there ones that you don't ever up pot and you just go right from the seeding
yep.
tray to out in the field?
So it's a multifaceted question. So
Yep.
if it's for selling in the store, we're going to start it in a 4-inch pot so we don't have to up pot it.
Okay. Okay.
That's going to be the goal, except for the stuff that's combo. So if it's stuff that we will be transplanting and selling in the store, then it will start in a smaller tray. We'll transplant what we can and then up pot the rest to sell in the store.
Okay.
Now,
I had a random idea. You said, sorry to interrupt you, but you said a combo. What if you were to plant your tomato, your pepper, your cilantro, your onion, like in the same tray, and you sold like a salsa kit?
like a salsa tray,
Have you
you
ever
know,
have you ever done that? I wonder if that would work.
so we did that when I was at Hope Farms. Like we
Okay.
made like a salsa pot, right? It
Yeah.
was one large pot with everything in it.
Yep.
Really, really easy to do when there's only one person planting. But when you have a team doing a ton of trays, that tends to stuff gets messed up when you do
Okay.
that.
One somebody
It's
ends up with
actually
3 peppers, and the other person got 3 tomatoes.
yeah, and
Yeah.
actually, I say that we kind of have a general rule of thumb here at the family farm, and that is the same person actually seeded 90% of these trays.
Just so that the one eyes are on the same thing. They know what's going
One
on.
eye, yes, that's really important in the greenhouse, even for organization. When you have even sets of hands making labels and seeding and filling trays, like stuff starts to get really confusing really quick, and all of a sudden you have trays that are mislabeled. Um, and it's just not good, not good.
Okay.
So when I was at Hope Farms, I actually would start my tomatoes about 3 weeks prior than what we do here
Okay.
because we grow the strawberries here. that fills most of our spring. So we don't need tomatoes in as early as we did at Hope Farms. And so we don't up pot as much on tomatoes like we did there. Now, the reason I would up pot there is because on January 1st, I was seeding tomatoes. From there, I could get 4 weeks in a 128 like this. And
Okay.
then from there, I would, that's only February 1st. Still a little risky to transplant. So we'll put them in 4-inch pots and try to push them to past Valentine's Day in those 4-inch pots. Now,
Okay.
when do we know? Well, first off, timing. We know that if everything's going right, then most of the stuff should be able to be in this tray for 3 to 4 weeks. Now,
That kind of a general
maybe,
rule, but obviously depends on the variety and what you're planting, the plant. Is that a
yes,
general rule of
three
thumb,
to
though? You're looking at about a month, 3 to 4 weeks
yes,
before you up pot?
yes, 3 weeks on some of your quicker stuff, 4 weeks on some of your slower stuff.
Okay.
But there's multiple things that go into that. If you're not someone who's feeding in your greenhouse, that's going to slow everything down. If you're not someone who's watering consistently in your greenhouse, that's going to slow everything down. And so, easiest, we don't have anything that would be ready to transplant. Let me try. We got offered some old seed, these peas here, and so we wanted to do a germination test on them before we took them
Okay.
up on it. And so this
Yeah.
was a little germination test. So I'll do it on this. So to check to see if it's ready to up pot, what I like to do, remember when you're taking anything out of a container, all you do is squish the bottom, don't squish the top, and then we'll lightly pull. That one wouldn't quite be ready to transplant. You see how it kind of fell apart?
The root structure didn't hold your soil together.
Exactly. That's what we want. Now, we don't want it to be to root bound. We don't want it to be like just all roots down here in the soil, but we would like it to stay together. And I can say, I have lots of people that have asked me in the past, oh my gosh, my peppers have just quit growing. Like they're in the tray, they're not very big, they just quit growing. So I tell them, well, try pulling one out of the tray. And when they do, it's just like solid roots. And I'm like, up pot it. And the minute they up pot it, golly,
It
two and a
takes
half
off.
weeks later, it's ready. Yeah, it just takes off. And so, depending on, most people have no idea what kind of fertilizer is in their seeding mix,
Yeah.
if any. And then, if you are feeding from that, like how much each plant's actually getting. And so, you just don't know what type of nutritional plan, a lot of people don't, that these small plants are on. You could be building stronger root systems instead of trying to grow green growth, right? Lots of variables there. And
Sure.
so, I like up potting, especially with smaller greenhouses where if you need plants to be in there longer or you have slower growing plants, I really like up potting. I think it's a good technique.
So in my situation, right, I've got my trays. We're not get this, Tyler. It's supposed to get down to -10 on Monday and Tuesday. So I'm not to the point where I'm going to be putting anything in yet. We are getting ready to go, but the 72-inch trays here that I have, per your suggestion, these ones are 72s. You were having a one. Is it 128?
A
Oh,
128. I like the 72s for someone your size
okay.
because like on your tomatoes and peppers, you're going to get a little bit longer in there before you have to up pot, and then you're going to get a little bit longer out of that up pot.
So I could leave that like a tomato. Most likely could stay in here for maybe 5 to 6 weeks before I need to up on it.
Let's say 4 to 5 weeks.
Okay, 4 to 5.
Let's say 4 to 5 weeks. uh, Maybe 6 weeks. Like if you're not feeding, you know what I mean. But ideally, at 6 weeks, it would be, you'd be ready to transplant
Now
or
another
put
another question on the 4-inch pots versus a
mhm,
6 inch. This is or not a 6 inch, a six
the six
tray.
cell. Yeah,
Do I need to put if I'm selling these? You just plant the tomato right in here, right?
that's what I do. Um, yeah, there's larger. So think about it this way. So if you were growing 10,000 trays, and each one of those 6 trays missed one plant, well, all of a sudden you have 60,000 plants that you've missed out on.
Oh yeah.
Right? But so that's where if you were growing 10,000 trays, then it would be more beneficial to start them in 128s and transplant them. So you can ensure that when you have that 6 cell, every single one has a plant that's growing. But if you're only growing 100 trays and every tray is missing one, Well, that's okay.
Not that, not that big
That's
a deal.
okay. Yeah, not that I don't think it's that big of a deal.
Okay.
Uh, so that's my philosophy on it. It's a scale thing. But yeah, if I was you, I would just direct seed into those.
The stuff that I'm going to sell, and then, or even take some of these, the 72 sell, up pot that, use that for like my herbs and things, up pot to a 4-inch pot and sell that.
Yep. I really like for selling. I like those sixers for like your brassicas,
Yeah.
right? And then I really like 4 inches for tomatoes and peppers and things like that.
Yeah.
Maybe sprinkle a few
Walk me
herbs on.
through kind of a list. You gave me 4 things there, but name off some of the things you would put in a 6 cell versus a 4-inch pot.
Yeah, sorry, the train was passing by. So,
You're
but
fine.
I believe what you said was give me a list of what you put in
Yep.
each. So, the 4 inch pots I really like for herbs, but you'll eliminate my one seed per hole rule, and you'll
Yep.
put a few herbs in there, and it just grows a real nice 4 inch. And I tell your customers, don't plant those. Just harvest them right out. They'll get big in there. Just harvest them right out of there, or transplant that just into a bigger pot and pick it right out of there. I really like the 4 inchers for tomatoes and peppers, up potting them into that and selling them. Eggplant, a lot of your like later spring or maybe what you would consider summer stuff, what I would consider spring stuff. Um, if we were doing okra, I'd probably put okra in that 4 inch pot, and then on the 6 tray, I really like all your brassicas. So cabbage, kale, broccoli, cauliflower. Uh,
Head lettuce.
I really like that. They're quick growing. Uh, they're really quick growing, and they'll fill out those 6 inch pots pretty quick versus waiting for a tomato to fill out. Like you'd have better luck. Like if you're gonna up pot it into the 4 inch pot, right?
Well, and
Uh,
you're able to take those brassicas and put them into the ground a lot sooner. So, like in my case, if I'm planting tomatoes now, I'm not putting them out until the end of April, first part of May. So it's like I would have to be up potting those. I can't put
yeah,
them in the ground, but the
yeah,
cold tolerant ones you can get in a lot earlier.
yeah. So that's a good point. It'd be hard to carry a tomato in that six cell pot or 6 cell tray that long.
Yeah.
Uh, and then, a lot of people they don't. They obviously direct seed things like radishes, beets, and turnips. However, if you're in a situation where you want to try to get a head start on some of that stuff, you can do it. You can transplant them. It can be done. But again, you'll need to eliminate my one seed per cell rule. If you try to grow beets in a tray and try to transplant those, and you put one seed per cell, you're not going to build enough root system in that cell to hold all the soil together. And
Yeah.
so you need to put 3 or 4 in there and build a nice little root system in there, and then you can transplant it. Same with the turnips and radishes. You can transplant them, but you need to put them in the smallest cell possible and put 2 or 3 seeds in there so they'll hold them together whenever you
So definitely you want the 128 on those.
or smaller so they make a 264.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man.
Uh-huh. 264 is what we used before if we were transplanting beets.
Okay. And you guys have even transplanted corn, right? Do you do that in a 6
Yeah.
cell?
Actually, the corn did really good in the 128s.
Okay.
Uh, and so, where areas where that could be really good are areas where you don't have, and this goes for all this direct seeded stuff, areas that you don't really have a good like overhead irrigation system. And so, you have a really hard time like completely soaking your soil to get irrigation, or sorry, to get good germination. That's where I like to transplant some of those more untraditional transplant crops, right? So crops that you would normally direct seed, like corn, radishes, beets. Uh, I've never done carrots. I've always direct seeded carrots,
Okay.
but I'm sure you could do it that way too. And just put it in the smallest cell possible. Now the corn, I only put one seed per cell because it's just got such a vibrous root system. Um, and dude, talk about a pretty little corn patch because just every transplant is just laid out perfectly.
Right where it needed to be.
right where it needed to be. You obviously you're getting quicker germination and really healthy plants going in the field. Uh, I think it's super interesting. If you were a little bit larger and had one of those uh, tape transplanters,
Yep.
I don't know if you've seen those, right? Paper pot transplanter, and did corn and something like that. I think it would do really well because you could transplant it really quick, right? Just drag it, those paper pots pull apart.
And it would
I think
be right
well,
where they need to be.
big
That's
time.
not how we. That's not how we do it up here in Nebraska. I'll tell you
No.
that.
Well, that's not how we do it either. It's
Yeah, I
just
know.
something,
I know.
like I just tried it one time just to see. And, uh, at Hope Farms, I never had great overhead irrigation to get germination on certain
Let's
fields.
talk about irrigation because that is something that I need to figure out here. I'm just planning on taking a hose and spraying things down. But what would be your
Yeah,
ideal situation? Tell me what
honestly, man,
you
I love this question because look what's sitting right there.
need.
Um,
Hopefully, exactly what
I,
I'm looking
I,
at. Yeah.
dude, I just don't trust it. And yes, is it going to create more work for you? Of course. And do big commercial greenhouses have timers and water lines and all that? Yes, but like you're adding to the cost of each of your plants because you have to install that infrastructure. And then B, all it takes is one warm day and that timer to malfunction, and it's game over. Like it's game over, right?
So every day is critical. What you're saying is like you need to be out here, water them every single day.
Yes. And so I look at this just like raising chick. Like those first 3 to 4 weeks are the most critical part. Once the chick feathers out and you've given it all the nutrition it needs, it's good, right? But like you kind of have to really watch them those first couple weeks. And I look at the greenhouses the same way. And it's the most important thing. It's where everything starts. If you fail in here, you don't even get the opportunity to
I'll
succeed
have
or
it.
fail out there.
Yeah, it's a good perspective. So you just get it moist on top. Make sure that it's. Do you want it really saturated every day?
Yes, and so I don't like to see a single dry cell. I think my uncle has a little bit of a different philosophy that uh, if you kind of let them go, not get it completely dry, but you let it get a little bit dry and then soak it again. Two different philosophies. You end up at the same end goal. Your
Is his for more
conditioning,
root growth? Like he's wanting to promote the root growth
yes.
there.
He's promoting root growth, and honestly, he's probably even promoting a little bit more drought tolerance too, right? Like we forget that it's not just about varietal selection, but it's also about like raising hardier
The
plants.
environment and the situation
They
plant.
they have exactly that. This batch of plants has the ability to adapt if you ease them into something, and so I guess there's a lot to be said. I am like on the other viewpoint of like, no, we need to have as many successful plants as possible.
Yeah,
So two different viewpoints, the same end goal for the most part. Um, yeah,
you guys should
but
do a trial, like a side by side. He gets one side, you get the other, and you see how they turn
yeah.
out at the end of the year.
Well, so like I more than likely what would happen is you have the trays that I did would probably look a lot better before they were transplanted. The
Right.
trays that he did would look a lot better directly after transplanting, and
Yeah.
then the hardiness would be going a week out, 2 weeks out, 3 weeks out, 4 weeks out, all the way to harvest. I don't know. You know.
Yeah.
Um, Yeah, it's the greenhouse is a whole thing. But if I could say, like, obviously, if you're on the homestead or if you're raising plants for your garden, it's just one person. But if you do have a small farm like this, pick one person and they need to be doing everything in the greenhouse. Even if you send people to help them, like, have them create the system and understand what's going on. And if you do send somebody to help them, they should only be doing things like filling the trays with soil and then setting them there so that the person who's running the greenhouse can seed them, label them, and place them. Right.
Labeling. You brought up that point. What do you guys do to label your trays?
So I've
Popsicle
tried
stick.
a bunch of different stuff. Yeah, I've tried a bunch of different stuff. Everything from popsicle sticks to plastic tags. I mean, the plastic tags truthfully work the best
Let me see what you got
because
down
they're
there.
going
Zoom in on one of those. I want to see what that looks like.
to, because they last forever. Now, these are
Okay.
for resale, and so these don't have like the variety of cilantro it is. That's probably Calypso cilantro. Um, if we were putting out in the field, it'd have the variety and all that good stuff. I like to put the seed date on it.
Okay.
And then there was even a time where we were having germination problems at Hope Farms. And so I put variety. So what it is, variety, date it was seeded, and then seed company that I got it from.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Only because I wanted to see like, okay, if we seeded 36 trays of red snapper tomatoes and half of them were from one X seed company and half of them were from Z seed company, and all the Z ones didn't fail, well, we have a problem on our hands.
Sure. And then you can
So
compare even that company's, maybe the red snapper tomato didn't work from X company, but the okra that you got, you can compare different companies across different plants.
exactly, because of course every company has their own genetics.
Yeah.
Uh, and so just because it's the same variety doesn't mean they're all created equal. Of course, I mean, you've been in the seed business before. There there are some stuff that they're all buying from the same place, of
Yes, but
course,
even
right?
that, you talk about seed handling. There's a lot of different variables that go into the humidity that's there, where they're storing that seed, the temperature that it's in, how long they've actually had it. So even if they all got it from the same place, over a period of 6 months, the germination at one company could be completely different from another company.
Exactly. So let's talk about
Let's
the
see
actual
this
process.
demonstration. I'm excited. I feel like a kid in middle school again. I'm at a field trip.
Let me make sure that you're going to be able to actually see down in here. So, okay, 128 cell. Sorry, you can't see my face.
Okay,
128
so there's
cell.
128 cells in that. This is a
We put
72.
we put our soil in a big trough, right? Lots of people have their propagation stations set up differently. We like this. It makes it really easy to work in. The tray fits in the tub, no problem. Just makes it a little easier. I always wet my soil down. Okay, it shouldn't be sopping, but it shouldn't be dusty.
Okay.
That's the spot. Like you shouldn't be able to wring water out when you do it, but it also shouldn't be dusty. So it's about finding that sweet spot. Now, this is important because this is this soil is hydrophobic, meaning that it won't absorb water well if it's dry. It'll only absorb water well if it's wet.
So that's why, like, I did this last year when I would put water over my soil, it just ran right off the top.
Exactly.
That's why that happens.
So you let your soils dry out too much. That's
Okay.
why I am really big on keeping those plants watered, because all it takes is one warm day for them to dry out, and then it's really hard to reach that saturation point
Okay. Because it just continues to. Could you
again.
soak the tray? Like, would you be able to take the tray, set it in some water
You
for?
can. I don't. It's called bottom watering. There's a lot
Yeah.
of people who do that. That like to do it on this scale would take so much time. Really,
Sure.
if you do become dry like that, the best thing to do is take like 2 hours and go in there and water every 15 minutes, and
Just
that'll slowly but surely creep it down.
sure.
Um, Before we get started on that, we need to talk about watering time too. If you if you have like a greenhouse your size, for example, and it only takes you 10 minutes to water it, you're not watering correctly,
Okay.
right? So
Okay.
it should take you longer. You should be filling up each tray very lightly. It shouldn't think about what your garden looks like after a hard rain, right? It
Yeah.
shouldn't be a hard water. It should be a very light water. You should be completely soaking the tray all the way around and then starting back at the beginning. We like to do that 4 times all the way around. And if you're not sure if you're watering correctly, once your plants start to be kind of established, you can lightly take one of those cells out and look. How far are you penetrating the water? Is the soil dry at the very bottom? Then you're not watering long enough.
how long after you've watered do you do that test?
10, 15 minutes. That
Okay.
should be plenty. No, yeah. So fill the tray.
And here's what I'm thinking, Tyler. I think we need to have you back on maybe sometime this week, and we can talk strictly about the potting soil versus seed starting mix. I think that would be a good video to
I
do.
like
So
that.
we'll address that in a later video.
Yes. So then we have our handy dandy scraper here, which is really just an old piece of wood.
Is that a piece of pallet wood or something?
Yeah, probably. I like to take it, scrape the top, not to the end, right? I don't know if y'all can't see that. So I don't scrape it fully to the end.
Okay.
Scrape it to the edge there, and then I take it and scrape it back the other way.
Hmm.
And we get a really nice covered area. And then I'll move y'all back a little bit. This is like my super secret, but I tell everybody because we don't gatekeep anything.
Super secret, but not secret.
Yeah. I take another tray. Instead of using my finger or a pen or buying an expensive dibble tray, I just dibble with another tray.
Because you've
So
got a hole right in the bottom of your. I'm trying to see if I've got one of those trays.
well, so you don't need a hole. You just need that soil to be indented, right? Like where this thought process was that we need like a little tiny hole, we don't. All I did was indent. You see how all the squares are indented now? Because all it did was make the shape of the bottom of that, right?
Okay, yeah.
So picture this perlite as seeds. We'll just drop one seed in each, right? Take it, lightly cover, right? Take your tray again. That gives you good seed to soil contact. Put it on the line.
Man, you made that look easy. That's the goal, though,
The,
right? The
using
goal.
the other tray to dibble is to me the game changer because again, most people you'll see them, they'll go like this.
It takes so much time. Yeah.
So using that other tray to dibble. So are you going to have seeds that are like instead of being perfectly in the center of the cell, they're going to be off to the? Yeah, it's going to happen. Guess what?
But that doesn't matter at the end of the day.
Yeah,
Like where
the
it is
plant
in the.
really doesn't care that much.
And I guess
Especially if you're going to.
the other thing that people don't realize when you're poking the hole with your finger is the depth. You're gonna get at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter that much, but you are gonna get different emergence because you might have one that's a half inch and another that's a
Correct.
quarter of an inch, and it's gonna definitely come up a little odd.
Exactly. And
This
so
is
it
all
might not stop emergence. Yeah, having inconsistent holes like that, it might not stop emergence, but like you said, you're going to have a bunch of different timing.
yeah,
This, it's all the same.
consistent. I like that.
Y'all want to see the chicken brooder?
Let's see it. Yeah, I'm excited. Hello, Andreas. I'm not sure if I pronounced that correctly, but welcome. Yes, let's see
So,
you working on how many hens do you have ordered?
so we have 1,000 hens ordered. We have 800 red stars. We have 100 speckled Sussex, and we have 100 Rhode Island reds.
Man, that's awesome.
So
So
this
this is
was a
a converted greenhouse.
yep. This was the greenhouse. We just started on it about 3 weeks ago.
Is the
So
plastic the same, or did you guys replace that?
we replaced it only because this didn't have plastic on it. If it would
Okay.
have had plastic on it, we just could have cut half of it off, but it didn't have any plastic on it. So just starting from this side, right from the front, if you can see in the screen, we have chicken wire actually going around the entire bottom section all the way around,
Okay.
right? And we did that. And we're actually going to put bird netting over this that'll run the length. But we did that just so this bottom piece would have a little bit more security on it. Each one of these windows opens. We actually haven't cut the plastic yet, just because it's like, why why do it yet, right? Like,
Yeah,
have it
wait till
buckled
you
up
need it.
for when the chicks get, once they get feathered out and we need airflow, we'll just take a knife, zip, 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 and open the window up. But for now, it's buckled up. Window right
Nice.
here as well. Door, of course, door. That seals tight, right? And
Now,
if
how
we
do you get
needed
that
to,
door to seal tight? Because that is the hardest
so,
part for me.
we have some really talented carpenters on our team
Okay.
that understand making things square and
Yeah.
all that good stuff. And then, of course, you have the door stop here. Now, that's a big thing, too, because if you continuously allow that door to swing past, it'll start to wear on those hinges
Gonna
because they're
wear.
not meant to swing that way. So having
Yeah.
that door stop is important. And if we wanted to, we could actually run a piece of tape here if it was going to get real cold.
Yeah.
So we have gas hookup, we have electrical hookup, and we have water hookup.
I'm so jealous. I got nothing in my
The
greenhouse.
full,
Like it's a
yeah.
struggle. That having that is
So
like if you guys are putting in anything like this, a greenhouse or a brooder, and you're wanting to use that, having access to water and electricity is so important.
yeah, for sure. So here, the way this will look once it's finished, there'll be a piece of plywood that comes from that to here, and then it's going to go in right there. That way, the chicks, when we open this door to come in, we're not like trying to keep chicks out of the door, right?
Yeah,
It'll block them off. Uh, when they first arrive, we're going to build brooders inside this giant brooder. There'll be 4 brooders, 8x8, 250 chickens apiece, with
okay.
gas heaters that come out and heat lamps. Um, the water line will have automatic waterers that just trace the edge of this square
That's gonna
all
be
the
so
way down.
nice.
Yeah, so we'll have about 100 emitters going all the way around.
The little
Uh,
the little dribble thing, right?
yep,
What
yep,
what did you use
exactly.
for your emitter?
That's what it is. It's like it's got a little thing that comes out of it, and when they hit it, it drops water out.
How many chickens do you have, Tyler? How many are you gonna get? One more time.
We just ordered 1,000.
They'll have 1,000 laying hens.
So we just put these poles up this morning. That's meant because we're going to hang feeders up there. And so these are meant to stop that from bowing.
Sure.
That's all that's for. Um, and even if we looked at it and we really didn't like hanging them there, what we could actually do is run a 2x4 from there to there,
Just
and
hang there.
yeah, just hang them from there. Either way, we have that support system in. And so
Yeah.
once these birds get 4 to 6 weeks old, depending on the weather, again, we have vent windows here and here as well. My uncle and I just this morning seeded, you can kind of see it, some ryegrass and some clover out here.
Nice.
So there'll be bird netting. You can see the chicken wires here. There'll be bird netting all the way over here. What they talk a lot about in the pastured poultry scene is like giving your birds, especially if you're somewhere where there's extreme weather, giving your birds that transition period.
Sure.
So four to
You're
six
not just
weeks
taking them right from this perfect environment and then throwing them outside.
Exactly. So in 4 to 6 weeks, we'll open up the door during the day and allow them to come. This will be, 6 inches tall with ryegrass and clover. They'll be able to graze in here. And then at the end of the day, lock them all in there until they're ready to go out on pasture.
That's gonna be perfect. Wow.
We're pretty, dude. We put a lot of thought into this.
Do you mind?
And
You can say no to this, but do you mind telling us how much like this entire setup would cost?
yeah, so I mean, we already had the greenhouse, so like we don't count that cost because we've already made it back from.
But
I
what would like if they were
Yeah.
wanting to pull these up
So
new?
this greenhouse probably cost, I'm gonna say 8,000,
Okay.
maybe 6 to 8,000, depending on where you are, right?
Yep.
Um, and then we've probably only spent 500 in lumber.
Okay.
The plastic was another 300.
Okay.
Probably what 500 in chicken wire going around it, and then the $400 bird net. Were you adding up?
No, I wasn't adding up. I was actually thinking in my head. I was wondering. I bet you could find a used greenhouse because a lot of times what happens is once that plastic's done, and somebody doesn't want it anymore, they'll cut you a really good deal on just getting the framing down if you'll
Yeah.
come take it down.
Well, so
So
and that
that
brings up the good question. Like, now that this greenhouse has kind of played out, and like you said, the plastic was ripping, maybe some of the poles are a little rusty. It's almost of better use for us to make it into the brooder because we need the brooder. If it
yeah,
was all, if most of this wood was just salvaged from the farm,
and
like
so
I mean, this has paint on it. Like this is
yeah,
all salvaged wood, right? It's different sizes. Like,
so my question is, so these are going to go from the brooder, and then you're going to have them out on a pasture. And we can talk about that. You've got a chicken tractor. Will this brooder then sit empty, or do you think that you could then throw more layers in it come summertime? Is it too hot down there where you could end up selling chickens in the fall, like ones that you guys don't need,
yeah.
just keep that brooder going?
So we've brainstormed multiple ideas, and so we kind of thought about brooding our pigs in here.
Okay.
Um, but then we are like, do we don't want to risk that cross contamination, so I
That
don't
would
think
be a
we're gonna
little
do
work.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I think what we're gonna do is we'll let it sit. Now, our plan is we will have 1,000 chicks in here every year.
Yeah.
And so, but we'll actually be ordering in October. And so by next October, this will be full again. That's the plan.
Okay. Okay.
Uh, you wanna have a little sneak peek at the trailer we're turning into the
I
chicken
do.
wagon?
I do. This will be the next step. So you'll take them from the brooder. They'll have access to the outdoors and the brooder, and then this is where they'll go for their permanent home, right?
Exactly. And so we just got that 100-acre lease. And so half of it will be peas, summer peas, and the other half will be pasture chickens.
Okay. We just had a question about the podcast. When are we coming out with season 2? We are going to be filming here in the next week or two, right,
Yeah,
Ted? We've
we're
got.
planning. I had a question about it yesterday too. I said, look, we're planning. We'll be recording a few episodes here soon, and we're excited about season 2.
We started the first season in March of 2022. So I think what we'll do is probably just keep that same schedule, come out in March and run through, what was it, September,
Yep.
and do that for season 2. I appreciate you listening, though. Thank you so much. That means a lot.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay, so the goal is to make this as easy as possible for us, right? While eggs
Always.
are obviously eggs are obviously like a profitable revenue stream, especially right now. It still doesn't need to add a ton of stuff to the operation. And so you can see if you could see that we've been testing our electric netting. We have it set up over here. So this electric netting will follow, it will surround the chicken wagon, the egg wagon.
And that is, will you guys move that every day, or how long are you
No,
hoping?
it'll get moved twice a week.
Okay.
It'll be on a quarter acre. And so
Okay.
here is the trailer. So it'll have a pitched roof, right? It'll have feeders that hang down the side. These sides will be the brooders, and then we're going to have every 50 feet along this 100 acres is going to be a stub up, a water spigot with an air hose hookup. And so we will have pipes, automatic waterers that run the entire perimeter of this trailer, and that air hose will be hooked up to it. It'll, the air hose things roll up.
Yep.
It'll roll it. So when we move it, we'll unplug it from the hose bib, let it roll up. We'll move the trailer, and then we'll plug it back in. So we never have to haul water. We don't have to fill waterers.
One suggestion for you on that: when you build this, if you can get a sprinkler head, either at the front or the back end of your trailer, most likely you'd want it on the back. You could also use that to irrigate. So you could
You
run a
know what?
sprinkler back at the same time.
When we went to that chicken conference, they talked about that. They talked
What they say.
about the importance of irrigating all that manure in after
Yeah.
you've moved.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Oh, there was a comment there. I'm sorry, I just missed it. I don't know what eggs cost in the U.S., but my neighbor in Denmark sells them to us for 37 U.S. dollars. Oh my word!
Whoa, that'd be
We
nice.
are not that high.
That'd be nice. Um, and so this will just get moved with just a small tractor, right? And that tractor will carry the feed and all that. And so right now our plan is to move Tuesdays and Fridays. Weekends are crazy busy here. And so we don't want to be moving on the weekends. And so Tuesdays and Fridays right now is the goal.
I like it. What's the dinosaur for? I know that's way random, but
Yeah, so we do agritourism, and so
okay.
this is what we call a photo op.
Okay,
People like to take pictures in front of it.
I like it. I like it.
Kind
I'm
of crazy.
gonna I'm gonna hop over to Instagram real quick. I'm gonna see if there's any questions real quick.
Yeah, do that. I'll keep walking.
You keep walking.
All right, y'all. This was where our corn maze was this past season. This is where a lot of the tourism happens. People come in here, they take pictures. We call this like the yard, basically. Easter egg hunts, picture
What's the next
taking.
event that you guys will be like a big event? You do the corn mazes. You got strawberry picking. Is there
Yeah.
anything you'll do for Valentine's Day?
Well, so we might do some like chocolate dipped strawberries for Valentine's Day, but it won't be
Ah,
anything out here. That'll be in the store.
okay.
Um, so we will do spring break, which is like our strawberry festival, where like it's more than just the strawberry picking. They'll be able to come all in here, play the games and stuff, take a tractor ride, and that'll run for a week during spring break. Um, it's kind of muddy, but we're gonna walk out to the strawberries.
All right.
And so
Yes, this is a farm that you can visit. This is Froberg's farm in Alvin, Texas.
that's right. Did we have any questions on Instagram?
We did. One question was, what do you do with your older birds? Do you eat them? Do you gift
Oh,
them to people?
so I can tell you what our plan is going to be. Not obviously we haven't done it yet, but our plan right now is um, one of I guess two options. So the first option is sell them off at $5 a bird, like because a chicken won't stay on the farm any longer than 2 years, and so there's a small market obviously for homeowners who they don't care that they're only getting 200 eggs a year or 180 or whatever, right?
Let me explain that real quick. For people who don't know, a chicken will start laying typically around 6 months. It just totally depends on the breed. And then the production will continue to increase until they get to about 18 months, is where it's dramatically starts to decrease. And so the cost to feed the chicken versus what you're getting out of eggs isn't doesn't pencil out for big egg producers. And so usually at 18 months to 2 years, they'll sell off those, even though they can continue to lay until they're 6 to 8 years old. They're not laying as much. It continues to decline, and so people will sell off those birds to people like myself that have a homestead. We're not in it to make a bunch of money.
Yep. And so the other option um, is obviously like to stew them. Um,
Yep.
we make tamales here on the farm. We make all sorts of stuff. And so who doesn't love chicken tamales?
Yep. And that also, because with the breed that you have, you could definitely get some meat off of those. Like I know the white highline ones. It's not even worth butchering. Like there's no meat on them
Sure.
whatsoever. So the breed also makes a big difference too on what you do with them
So
afterwards.
we figure like the special Sussex is a kind of a heavier bird. That one for sure.
Yep.
We could.
Your Rhode Island Red, you could do the same as well.
Yeah.
Man, I
Um,
want one. What's the blue rope? And you gotta.
Yep,
Yeah. What is that
great,
for?
great questions. So this is to hold the remake up. So really important during frost protection. And uh, I always find that people, this is like the thing they forget about covering plants is, yes, if you cover your plants, is it going to help them? Of course. But if you want full protection, you don't want that cloth to touch the leaf, because if that cloth freezes, you now have frost sitting on that leaf. And it's good because it's only sitting on the top ones or maybe the outside ones, but like those are going to be burned. If you've ever
Yeah.
gone through a freeze where you have things covered, when you uncover, you're like, oh, they only took a light burn. Well, that light burn was from that cloth touching.
Touching it.
So this keeps that remay off of the plants.
So how far will that go? You have to cover all those up in
We
the event of a frost.
we just covered them 2 days ago.
Okay.
Yep, and then we uncovered them. And so sometimes, unfortunately, like there's times where we might cover and uncover 2 to 3 times in 1 week. Like
Because you
it just
can't leave them covered for like how long could you leave them covered?
you don't want to leave them covered up for like more than 4 days, because like your fruit is ripening under there. You're on a time clock.
Yeah.
And so that's why it's not unheard of to leave them covered for 4 days, uncover, pick, and then cover them back up.
Okay.
You can see
The harvest.
this cloth blew off during the freeze, and that's why those plants look like that. Because if you see
Huh.
just past that, they're
They look
18
great.
inches tall.
Yeah,
I
they look
hate that
great.
that happened right here at the beginning of the field, because when people walk out here, it's the first thing they see.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like you go into here, and oh my gosh, the difference. We see a lot of almost ripe. We see a ton of green fruit, and we see a ton of blooms. So Uncle Alfred's definitely onto something, saying by February 10th for sure.
We had another question about chickens, which is what can chickens not eat?
Ooh, that's all you, buddy.
That's on me. They definitely do want you want to stay away from any kind of heavily processed foods. I think that's kind of a no-brainer. So I posted a video yesterday about the conspiracy theory around feeding chickens, and I had a lot of people say, "What about feeding them table scraps?" You can definitely feed them table scraps, but just remember that when Grandma and Grandpa were feeding them table scraps, and that's all they fed, they were eating a lot of natural foods, a lot of greens, a lot of fruits and veggies, and in our case, we're eating a lot more processed things in our food, even if it's not, something you got fast food, just in what we typically eat in our diet. So be careful of that. The things you really want to stay away from is any type of chocolate, avocados, any type of legume. So like beans and peanuts are really not good for them. Green tomatoes, stay away from those. Green peppers, you can feed them those as long as they're ripe. Really, any of your fruits, most of your fruits are going to be totally okay like that. The strawberry that Farmer Froberg there was picking on, totally fine. How did it taste, buddy?
I mean, I'm not trying to give anybody FOMO or anything, but like, it was so good.
I've had a strawberry from that field, and
Yeah.
so the fact that I was there makes me really like I'm having a food memory right
Yes.
now. And I'm very jealous.
So like, you're doing good when you can see the white in the field. Like when the blooms are that noticeable, where you can see shades of white in the field, that's good. That's a very good thing.
That is a good sign. Someone else just said, "Tell us a joke."
Okay, I'll do one that I had my uncle do the other day. Why do
Okay,
why do why do chickens love strawberries?
I don't know.
Because
Wow,
I
wow,
I aim to please.
yeah, yeah. Well done. I don't have any jokes. I'm not a joke person, so I don't know that I can answer that question.
Man.
Well, we got about 5 minutes left here before we need to wrap up. Tyler, what else you got going on at the farm this week? So you cover the strawberries up, or they're done? You think you're out of the frost warning?
Yeah, I think we're good. I think we'll probably stay uncovered all the way through the rest of strawberry season, hopefully. Um, we'll look to start hopefully opening the field up to the public in a couple of weeks. Um, you
And how
know,
many people will you guys have out there picking strawberries?
it varies. I know through the corn maze this past year we ran about 100,000 people through. Uh, this is only about 12 acres, 10 acres of strawberries. So like that that number's just not realistic for this many berries. And so maybe 30,000, probably a good number to think about.
So if you sell out, all the berries are gone. What stops you from planting more strawberries next year?
Nothing. Like right now, in the past it was labor. Um, but yeah, I think next year we will. Like you see where the strawberries stop there, we'll at least take them to like where these onions are, maybe through where these collards are.
Can we see? Yeah, let's see those onions and collards. I want to see how far those are.
Yeah, I think these onions were planted when you were here at the farm.
Yeah.
They were just little, so I mean, they look exactly how they should. They went through all, our little freezes unharmed. Um, they really love this weather right here.
Are these
Wet.
are these green onions?
These are 1015s.
Okay.
So these are a nice bulb onion. But yeah, they love this. I mean, overcast, wet, not hot, not cold. Like we're about 65 degrees right now. Like this is what they like. It's a little windy, but they still. I mean, you could see they all look happy.
Yeah. So those are your onions. You got collards over there too, or the
Yeah,
collards are almost done.
yeah. Those collards are pretty played out. They got hit by the freeze in December pretty
Really?
hard. Yeah. But this morning, if you check I think my Instagram story has, I know I sent you a video, Noah. We pulled some really nice turnips, mustards, and some
As a
kale out
nice
of,
bed of greens, that's for sure.
yes, out of our Christmas tree farm. You know where I'm talking about.
Yep.
So, that stuff looked awesome.
That's interesting. Like the collards that we grow here are the most cold tolerant thing we can grow. Like it'll
Yeah.
smoke it'll smoke beets and radishes and turnips long before it'll ever affect the collard.
But man, like in December, I mean, we were 15, 18 degrees for 2.5 days.
Yeah.
Like it was way more colder than we should have been. And these were not used to that. These have been growing in 70-degree weather, you know? I mean,
Yeah.
they still look fine. We've still picked off quite a few of them, but they definitely got damaged,
Yeah. I get it. I get it. Well, I'm excited. Once I get through this last kind of cold front that we have where we'll be in the negatives, I got my heater supposed to come on Monday. I'm hoping that I can get started planting. I feel like I'm already a little behind. Like some of the stuff peppers and mostly the collards, or not collards, most of my brassicas, I definitely feel behind on, but I just didn't want to get anything in. And then, like this morning, it was 17 degrees in the greenhouse. So, not really anything I want to be
That's not
feeding.
great.
No, not at all. Last question was, are mules cool?
They're the coolest.
When's the last time you've taken a ride on Pepper the Mule?
Oh man, it's probably been 2 months.
Because summertime,
Just
you were taking a ride on
oh
Pepper.
man, I was getting it, man. I'm just so busy. I was freaking getting it, man.
Pepper's gonna get all fat and happy now and be like, "This is
I
sweet. I don't have
know.
to do anything for
I
anybody."
don't have to do nothing. Yeah, I know. I know. I know. I need to convince my wife that we need like a miniature donkey at the house or something.
Oh yeah, you need to get yourself a little mini Highland.
Oh. And then teach it to pull, turn it into an oxen.
Oh, there you go, a plow
Yeah,
cow.
plow cow. That's what I'm naming it, plow cow.
I like it. I think you need to take a ride on Pepper sometime. I feel like
I
you
think,
could use it.
I think you're right. Why? You can see the bags under my eyes.
You
Is that
just
what?
you just need everyone needs to take a ride on either a horse or a mule every couple weeks just to relax and de-stress.
You're probably right. You're probably right, buddy.
So this went well. I feel like in my mind, I'm excited to get
Yep.
this up and posted. See what
I
people's
felt like I
reactions
talked
are.
much, but I have a bad habit of doing that.
No, that was exactly what I wanted. I do think though that next time I would love to talk more about getting people into the seed starting side of it, like what they need to purchase for the potting soil. What's the difference between cocoa core and perlite and vermiculite? You talked about fertilizers. We didn't get into any of that. What you're supposed to feed them. So I think we could definitely do another
Yeah,
mini session just on that if you're up for it sometime.
of course.
Okay, well I'll let you get back to it. You enjoy the rest of your day, Farmer Froberg,
All
and
right, buddy.
tell the missus and the family I said hi.
Will do. We'll talk to you soon.
Take care.